The morning sun rises over the valley, banishing the cold shadows of the night. For the first time in weeks, the golden light doesn't signal danger, it signals opportunity. The jungle transforms from a battlefield into a landscape of breathtaking potential. James and Diep stand at the base of a colossal banyan tree, a titan of the forest that has stood guard here for centuries. Its ancient roots twist into the earth like the pillars of a cathedral, creating natural steps leading up to the massive trunk. The canopy above spreads out like a giant green umbrella, spanning 50 feet across. James, with his architect's eye, assesses the structure immediately. He knows instantly that this is the place. It is high enough to be safe from tigers, dense enough to hide their heat signatures from any drone, and sturdy enough to hold a fortress. He drops his heavy pack on a dry root. He isn't looking at a tree, he is analyzing a construction site. He points to a junction where 3 thick branches form a natural tripod, 30 feet in the air. He turns to Diep and tells her with conviction that up there will be their master bedroom. Diep looks up, her neck craning back. She looks exhausted, her white dress stained with mud, but her eyes are wide with wonder. She asks him how they are supposed to get up there without being monkeys, reminding him she is heavy with their child. James just grins, rolling up his sleeves. He tells her they don't need to be monkeys because they are engineers. In his world, gravity is just another tool. James finds a patch of smooth sand by the riverbank. He doesn't rush into hacking at wood like an amateur. He plans. With quick, decisive strokes, using a sharp stick, a complex architectural blueprint appears in the sand. He sketches a floating platform, a counterweight pulley system, and a pitched roof designed to catch rainwater. He explains the plan to Diep as if he is back in a boardroom presenting a skyscraper. Phase 1 is the platform utilizing the natural triangulation of the branches to lock the floor in place without a single nail. Phase 2 is the roof, using thatch weaving to repel water. Phase 3 is the nursery, a protected corner for the baby. Diep stares at the drawing. For the first time, the paralyzing fear of being hunted is replaced by a spark of domestic excitement. She ties her hair back with a vine, refusing to be just a spectator. She asks what she needs to do. James hands her a sharp stone and designates her the project manager. Her job is to process the materials while he handles the heavy lifting. James moves into a grove of giant bamboo nearby. These are dragon bamboo stalks, thick as a man's thigh and hard as steel. He uses his heavy machete, selecting the mature stalks with a duller green color, which indicates maximum hardness. He strikes with precise rhythmic blows. Crack, thwack. A 50-foot bamboo stalk groans and falls with a thunderous crash. James catches the heavy end and lifts it. The veins in his neck bulge. He works like a machine, fueled by a singular purpose, to build a safe haven. Sweat glistens on his back, highlighting muscles honed by weeks of survival. He isn't suffering anymore. He is conquering the environment. He drags the bamboo back to the site, creating a pile of green gold at the base of the banyan tree. Meanwhile, Diep sits on a flat rock nearby. The sunlight filters through the leaves, dappling her face as she uses the sharp stone to strip the small branches off the bamboo. She works methodically, gathering the leafy branches into a separate pile for roofing later. She is focused and efficient. James stops to wipe sweat from his eyes and watches her. She isn't a trophy wife anymore. She is a partner. Her hands, once manicured, are now skilled and strong. He walks over to the riverbank and spots a cluster of thick vines. Calling them nature's steel cables, he cuts them down and begins to braid them. He weaves 3 vines together to create a rope capable of holding a ton of weight, testing it until it sings with tension. James ties the braided vine rope around his waist and looks up at the giant banyan tree. He tells Diep to stay clear as he begins his climb. It is a difficult ascent, using slippery vines as footholds. He reaches the tripod branches 30 feet up. The view is breathtaking, a sea of emerald green stretching to the horizon. He throws the rope over a sturdy branch, creating a natural pulley system. He shouts down for Diep to send up the materials. She ties the first bundle of bamboo poles to the rope. James pulls. The heavy bundle rises into the air, defying gravity. The pulley system allows one man to lift what would normally require three. It is a triumph of physics over brute force. James catches the bundle and lashes it to the main tree trunk using a square lashing knot. He wraps the wet vine tight. As it dries in the sun, it will shrink, tightening the joint until it is as hard as concrete. One by one, the main beams are set. A triangular frame begins to take shape high in the air. It looks solid, geometric, and secure. James slides down the rope, landing lightly on the moss. He is covered in bark dust and sweat, but he looks energized. He walks to Diep, who hands him a bamboo cup filled with fresh stream water. She smiles, wiping dirt from his cheek. James drinks greedily, looking up at the frame above. He promises that the floor skeleton is done, and they just need 50 more stalks for the decking. Tonight, they will sleep off the ground. No snakes, no damp earth. Diep squeezes his hand. Her touch is grounding. She whispers that it looks impossible, but he is actually doing it. James corrects her gently. He builds the skeleton, but she gives it a heart. He looks at the sun, now turning a rich golden yellow. He asks if she is hungry. Diep rubs her belly, admitting the baby is kicking for lunch. James picks up his machete and walks toward the river, scanning the clear water. He tells her the project manager needs protein because he saw giant river shrimp in the shallows. He turns back, winking, and suggests grilled shrimp for the housewarming party. Diep laughs, a genuine happy sound. She tells him to get the shrimp while she starts the fire. James wades into the cool water, his eyes sharp. He doesn't look like a desperate fugitive anymore. He looks like a king building his castle, ready to provide a feast for his queen. The sun sets, painting the river in shades of violet. James stands motionless in the shallows, a sharpened bamboo spear in hand. He channels the patience of a hunter, ignoring the fatigue in his legs. He stares into the water, calculating the refraction. He knows the water bends light, making fish appear higher than they are. To hit the target, he must aim low. He spots movement, a massive freshwater prawn, the size of a lobster, waving its blue pincers. James holds his breath. Thwack! The spear strikes. He pulls it up, revealing the prize, a pound of pure protein. He grins. The thrill of the hunt washes away his exhaustion. Within 20 minutes, he has 5 massive prawns strung on a vine. It is a feast fit for a king. On the bank, Diep prepares the fire. She arranges driftwood in a star formation to conserve fuel. She strikes the flint against steel. Clack! A spark catches the dry moss, and a flame flickers to life. She places flat stones around the fire to create a grill. She is no longer the helpless girl. She is the keeper of the hearth. James returns with the catch, but the sun is sinking fast and the treehouse is still just a skeleton. They need a floor. James drags the remaining bamboo to the tree. He uses a technique called splitting the culm. Placing his heavy knife on a bamboo tube, he hammers the blade down with a rock. Crack. The bamboo splits perfectly. He removes the internal nodes to create flat, smooth strips. He lays the strips side by side. They form a sturdy surface, hardwood flooring made of grass. He hoists the bundles up the pulley system. Diep follows him up the rope ladder. 30 feet up, James lashes the bamboo strips to the triangular frame with wet vines. He pulls tight until his knuckles turn white. The floor takes shape, a golden platform floating in the sky. He tests it by jumping. It holds rigid. Diep steps into the platform. She looks down at the jungle floor, once a place of terror, now far below. Up here, they are untouchable. She runs her hand over the smooth bamboo. It feels cleaner than any marble tile she has ever known. The sky turns purple. A storm is brewing. They need a roof immediately. Diep points to the palm leaves she gathered. She shows James how to weave them, folding the leaves over bamboo sticks and pinning them with thorns. James watches with admiration. He installs a simple A-frame structure attached to the trunk. Together they lift the woven panels, layering them like shingles to ensure water runs off. As they tie the last panel, rain begins to fall. Pat, pat, pat. The rain turns into a roar, but inside it is dry. The leaves channel the water away. James and Diep sit on their dry floor, listening to the storm. They haven't just survived the elements, they have outsmarted them. The storm passes, leaving the jungle smelling of wet earth. James climbs down to the fire, which he kept dry under bark. He places the prawns on the hot stones. Sizzle. The shells turn vibrant orange. The smell of grilled seafood wafts up, a scent of luxury. He roasts bamboo shoots alongside the shrimp. It is a meal of simple ingredients but priceless value. He climbs back up with the food on a banana leaf. They sit cross-legged in their bamboo mansion. James peels a shrimp, the meat steaming and white. He hands it to Diep. "For the project manager," he says. Diep takes a bite. Her eyes close. After days of cold rations, the warm protein tastes like victory. "It's sweet," she whispers. "The best thing I've ever eaten." James eats, watching her. Her cheeks flush with color. He hands her a piece of roasted bamboo shoot. They eat in silence, surrounded by the jungle night. Below is danger. Above, a firefly drifts in, glowing softly. Diep leans against the banyan trunk, rubbing her belly. He liked the shrimp. He's dancing. James places his hand on her stomach, feeling the baby kick. A lump forms in his throat. He looks at what they built in a day. A floor, a roof, a meal. "We need a railing tomorrow," James plans. "And a water system." Diep places her hand over his mouth. "Tomorrow. Tonight, just look." She points through the roof opening. The clouds have cleared, revealing the Milky Way, brighter than any city lights. "We lost everything, James," she whispers. "The company, the money." James looks at his bandaged hands, the bamboo floor, and his wife sleeping safely. "No," he replies, pulling her close. "We didn't lose anything real. We just shed the dead weight." He kisses her head. "Sleep, Mrs. Diep. I'll take the first watch." Diep closes her eyes. James sits awake, gripping his machete, not with fear, but with the quiet confidence of a guardian. He is no longer a lost billionaire. He is a father building a world for his family, and he is just getting started.
Bình minh mở ra cơ hội mới khi James chọn cây đa cổ thụ làm nền móng cho pháo đài trên không của gia đình. Với tư duy kiến trúc sư, anh vẽ bản thiết kế, chặt tre lớn, bệnh dây leo làm cáp, dựng sàn và mái nhà ngay trên cao. Còn Diep trở thành quản lý công trình, xử lý vật liệu và nhóm bếp. Cả hai phối hợp nhịp nhàng, biến rừng sâu thành tổ ấm an toàn, tránh thú dữ và thiết bị truy vết. James săn được con tôm sông lớn làm bữa tiệc tân gia. Diep nướng đá nóng, lần đầu họ ăn một bữa no đúng nghĩa sau nhiều ngày chạy trốn. Trên sàn tre khô ráo, dưới bầu trời đầy sao, họ cảm nhận con đạp trong bụng và hiểu rằng mình không mất tất cả. James không còn là tỷ phú lạc lối mà là người cha đang xây dựng tương lai cho gia đình.